I want to ask you something. When you walk into a difficult meeting, a team that's stressed, a project that's stalling, a change that isn't landing the way you hoped, what's the first question you ask? Because here's what I've noticed. Working with leaders, navigating change, the question you lead with shapes everything that follows. And most of us are leading with the wrong one. It usually sounds something like this. What's going wrong? Where are we falling behind? Why isn't this working yet? And look, these aren't bad questions. They come from a genuine place. You want to fix things. You care about your team. You're trying to lead well. But here's what happens when you lead with those questions in a room full of people navigating uncertainty. You get a very particular kind of conversation. People defend, they deflect, energy drops, and you end up with a long list of problems and very little sense of what to actually do next. There's a different way in. Some years ago, when I met my partner and the founder of Spaciousness Works, Tanya Cruz-Teller, she introduced me to a body of work called Appreciative Inquiry. Without going too deep into it, and I will do a full episode on this, the core idea is disarmingly simple. The question we ask determines what we find, and what we find determines what we build. So instead of asking what's broken, you ask what's working, and more importantly, what's possible. That single shift in questioning changes the entire texture of a conversation. And once you've experienced it, you can't unsee it. Here's a question I want you to try this week. Instead of what's slowing us down, ask, when have we moved fastest? And what made that possible? That's it. That's the reframe. Instead of why is morale low, ask, when has this team been at its most energized? What was happening then? Instead of what's not working in this change process, ask, where have we already made this work? Even a little. And how did we do it? You're not ignoring the problem. You're finding the thread that leads to the solution. And that thread almost always lives in something the team has already done. Let me tell you why this matters so much during change specifically. When people are navigating uncertainty, their nervous systems are already on alert. They're scanning for threat. And when a leader walks in asking diagnostic questions, even well-intentioned ones, it confirms the threat. It says, yes, something is wrong here. But when you walk in asking about peak moments and what made them possible, something different happens. People shift from defensive to reflective, from contracted to curious. And here's the thing, you're not creating a false picture. You're not pretending the challenges don't exist. You're just choosing to locate the conversation in what's generative rather than what's broken. The problems still get named, but they get named by a team that feels capable of solving them, which makes all the difference. I've seen this work in boardrooms, navigating major restructures, in frontline teams dealing with systems change, in leadership groups who've spent months stuck in the same circular conversation and broke through it in 40 minutes with one different question. The question is that powerful. So, how do you actually put this into practice? Here are 3 places to start. First, your next team meeting. Before you get into the agenda, spend 5 minutes on this. Think about a recent moment when our team was working really well together. What was happening? What made it work? There's a question for you. You don't need everyone to answer out loud. You can ask people to just reflect for 60 seconds, but you'll feel the energy in the room shift. And that energy is what you want to carry into the harder conversations. Second, your next one-on-one or one-to-one meeting, instead of opening with, "How are things going?" which usually gets a fine, try, "Tell me about something that's gone well. Something that's gone well for you recently. What did you do that made that happen?" That question does two things at once. It surfaces real information about what this person is capable of, and it signals to them that you see their strengths, not just their gaps. In a period of change, that signal matters enormously. Third, your next problem-solving conversation. When a challenge lands on the table, resist the pull to go straight into diagnosis. Ask first, have we ever solved something like this before? What did we do? You're mining the team's existing capability. More often than not, the answer is already in the room. Here's what I want you to take away from this. The questions you ask as a leader aren't neutral. They're not just a way of gathering information. They're a signal about what you believe is true about your team. When you ask, "What's broken?" you signal, "I think something is wrong here." When you ask, "When have we been at our best?" you signal, "I believe this team has what it takes." And people will, almost always, rise to meet what you believe about them. That's not soft, that's not idealistic, that is one of the most practical leadership insights that I know. Change is hard, but teams that are led with the right questions navigate it differently. They stay curious instead of defensive. They look for what's possible instead of just managing what's difficult. And it starts with one question. So here's your challenge for this week. Pick one conversation, a meeting, a one-on-one, a problem-solving session, and swap your first question for a strength-based one. Notice what shifts. I genuinely love to hear how it goes. Drop it in the comments below, and if this sparks something for you, share it with a leader in your world who's navigating a tough transition right now. They might need this more than they know. In the next video in this series, we're going to go deeper into how to use your team's peak moments as a literal blueprint for where you're going next. It's one of my favorite practices, and I think you're going to love it. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and like this video. See you then.